Hello everyone and welcome back to Power Playground. This is your host Michael, and today I'm going to be building a rolling tool cart as well as a few other things. I'm going to build a table for my post-processing station. Going to dedicate that because, as you can see, this is my main tool bench. So there's a mixture of like woodworking stuff. There's some post-processing like stuff to work with prints once they're done with the printer, so I can peel off the rafts and supports and all that. But yeah, it's very chaotic and usually very unorganized and often distracting. So I want to kind of break up everything and make different stations for whatnot. Now, I went shopping today. First off, I went to Restore. It's a Habitat for Humanity store located here in Louisville, and right pretty close to my house. Bought these two countertops for about $5 a piece. Pretty nice. Got a bunch of 2x4s earlier in the week from Lowe's, and also went back to Lowe's and grab some nuts for these caster wheels. Now, let me give you a bit of a pro tip here. If you ever see something peeking out of a dumpster with just any sort of bit of furniture, check to see if these are on it, because these things are stupid expensive retail. Like, they're usually about I went to Lowe's and they're about $4 to $5 a piece for these caster wheels, which is ridiculous. So these are fairly robust. They're not rubberized, which kind of sucks, but they're free. And I just needed to buy some of these 5/16 18 thread bolts, so not too bad. And of course, I got some new screws here because I'm tired of using the Phillips head screws. Phillips head is like my least favorite fastener, next to flathead, of course, which is the worst. But yep, I got these Star Drive construction screws, so that'll come in handy for this project here, especially using with this impact gun I got recently. So that's definitely awesome. So with the rolling tool cart, I'm working on that first, doing the cuts for out of these 2x4s. I'd also, for the surface of the tool cart, I have these, I think they're like cabinets or something. I picked them off the side of the road around summertime when our junk day was happening. It's got this other piece too that came with it. If I'm gonna go ahead, and I got one more cut I have to do, one of those medium-sized pieces for the top of the tool cart. Basically, it's going to just be a two-shelf type deal here, and of course there will be the caster wheels as well as like a couple of handles, at least one. I don't know if I'm going to use this, which is like some sort of coat hanger type arrangement here, or I have somewhere around here I have a half-inch piece of metal conduit which I can cut down to size. Forgot where I put it, but I'm gonna go ahead and plot out the general blueprint of this particular rolling tool cart. So basically what I did was I had these flat sheets of plywood or some sort of wood that I recycled off the side of the street, and they have these little borders here. Or like, they're kind of built like cabins, more or less. So they have these pieces of wood, and then of course there are 2x4s. So the way I built this is I have sorry for the really crude drawing, is I had these 2x4s, and they're kind of so you have these angled at perpendicular angles each side. I recommend building this tool cart to your preferred height. I believe mine was around these 2x4s are cut around 3 feet, maybe a little longer than that. And then, of course, I had a similar piece like this. I'm just going to roughly draw it in. I just mounted it on top, and then, actually, scratch that. I mounted that on top, and also I had two 2x4 pieces that I mounted alongside like this. Sorry for the lack of 3 dimensions on all sides. So, yeah, I had two 2x4 pieces, and then I drilled holes with hole saws, as you saw, on the sides, stuck tubing as our handle rails, and then of course those gave me the handle rails, and then I mounted the caster wheels on the bottom with just some washers, and just did a basic, I forgot the actual threaded hole size. Forgot the actual hole size of the caster, but it's, I just had to match up the threads, because of course mine are recycled casters. Most will come with hardware, but some won't, so you just gotta make sure and do your due diligence on that. So this is the basic design. Like I said, there's a board up here, and then of course I mounted like a magnetic strip on the side from Harbor Freight, just drilled that in, and I did have like a little piece of scrap wood that I did mount perpendicular to the side panel here, just so I can have something for the tools to hang on. And all I did was I just drilled into this 2x4 hanging here. Also, another thing is I did have another 2x4 section over here, or going across these two guys. It's pretty much all I did was I just had these three little cabinet things, so you just need two assemblies like so that are identical. Just kind of basically like a half box or like a top of a box more or less. And you could do this with 2x4s or smaller pieces of wood. So you'll need one assembly like this where there is one board at the bottom along with either 2x4s or smaller pieces of wood that will fit the 2x4s. And then of course you'll want to measure up some longer pieces just to accommodate the handle, some longer 2x4s at the top to accommodate the handles, along with some smaller ones, which will more than likely be the width of this particular board right here, as long as it'll fit between these two pieces as the 2x4s are mounted, as I've shown this, or as I will be showing in the video. But hopefully this cleared things up. I know it's a little bit confusing in this drawing diagram, but I tried my best here. And let's go ahead and get to it.
Alright, a quick intermission here. The reason I vehemently hate Phillips head screws is because they have like a built-in basically they're idiot-proof more or less, but in a really, really rudimentary and just for me it's really counterproductive. Say if you're trying to put in a Phillips head screw at force in a piece of wood or something really hard, what's going to happen is it's going to slip, because it's only rated for a certain amount of torque. See, the design is that after a while, so you don't over-torque your screw, the actual Phillips head will actually slip off of the screw itself. So, go ahead and show you all here. Watch this fail miserably for me. Of course, that worked to be alright just because I'm throwing it in this wood. But more or less, when you're going, this is a decent screw and this is a decent drill bit. But if your drill bit if your screw and drill bit aren't really made for each other exactly, or if it's not these decent like DeWalt ones which are rated for impact, you definitely will feature a lot of slippage here. So let's try this. I'm gonna drive this in. Okay, so we got it in pretty good. So what's gonna happen is, you see, you get a lot of slippage if you aren't completely down on it. Like that's going to strain your hands a lot. Instead of simply just twisting going, you also have to push down and twist, which creates a lot more strain on your hands. So if you're trying to hand torque in a Phillips head fastener, you're going to have a bad time. So compared that to a Torx fastener. Also, another thing is, of course, you need to be perfectly level and angle, which in some cases you don't always have that luxury. But with a Torx, for instance, I have been using them on my current project. These things are stupid easy. See, if you notice, like with this is a lot longer of a screw. Oh, it would help if I'm going in the right direction. As you notice, it's applying a lot more torque, as you can hear the actual torque or the impact gun make an impact noise to it. But and the actual fastener itself, you can go in with the screwdriver. I'm not having to push down to prevent it from slipping from something like this, like a star or like an Allen type profile. It's very easy. Of course, it just seats right in there. So incredibly easy to use these types of screws. They're a little more expensive, obviously, but in my mind, they are definitely worth it compared to the Phillips. You're gonna have a hell of a lot less headaches. The Phillips, it won't strip out like the Phillips will, and of course, it'll just go right in. Just definitely no slippage there. And the flathead, of course, that's terrible. No one should ever use that ever. Phillips is like just a last resort type thing. Of course, they're so common, you can find them anywhere, obviously. So that's usually the best bet. But if you're going for new installation, and if you can spare the cash for these types of fasteners or Allen fasteners, go for it, because you will be thanking yourself. Alright, now that the intermission is taken care of here, I'm just going to show you the current progress of the tool cart. As you can see, I have the 2x4s. They are fastened in. I'm just using 2 vice grips and putting 3 screws on each corner, just kind of staggering them in different angles for each side, just to make it a little bit more rigid. Should be we'll just see if this actually works or not. But yeah, it should turn out to be pretty decent here. Here we go. So making the top part of the table now. Think I got enough vices here. But yep, just got that scrap wood. Probably gonna plug up that hole. Just something. I was trying to use this as a chair base for that chair project I'm doing here, but just didn't really work out too good. But I'm just gonna reuse it as this tool cart base because it's good free wood. But yep, I'm gonna put that top on once I get those two pieces slotted in here. Just using a lot of vices and blocks of wood to line these up properly here. Rather do it the first time right than have to redo it. Alright, so got the table mostly assembled here. Got the arms put on. These are like those closet hanger poles, so I just cut them down to size. One other thing I do want to recommend is if you have one of these Dremel flex shafts, do not use them with the cutting wheels at like high torque RPM, because I just snapped mine. A lot of I guess there's this giant like spring shaft here, so yeah, it looks like I just snapped it pretty clean off. And this is an authentic Dremel one as well, so that's going in the trash. I might rob some other parts off this other thing. I wonder if I can just buy one of these. That would be cool if I could just get one of these instead of just paying for the whole thing, because they're not exactly the cheapest things. So yeah, definitely go direct if you are going to use the cut-off wheels, especially when you're cutting metal, because yeah, it caught and then the whole shaft just broke right in half. But yep, cart's relatively level. Had to shim one of these bottom wheels that I have here, just the ones recycled casters, but overall they work pretty good. One of them was sticking, but I just replaced it with another one I had. I think I had like 8 of them total, so she works pretty good. So now I also got a magnetic strip placed in. This is like a Harbor Freight deal that I had on a shelf, so just tacked it on there so I can stick any sort of ferritic metal tools on there, like this wrench. Pretty cool. So yep, hopefully I should be able to get everything a lot more organized. Let's see here. Gonna do some other things here as well. Thinking about getting this board and tacking along the side here, at least one of these sides, just as something to hang more stuff off of. But yep, I just got to figure out what the heck how I'm gonna line or organize this, and I'll cut back once I have the tool cart all decked out. Alright, and pretty much got this thing done now. Now, do want to go over the video title. I said pretty much have $20 into this. Reason being that a lot of the wood is scrap, like I said. The only wood I really purchased was the 2x4s from Lowe's, and it took me about 3 2x4s to complete this project with a very small amount of scrap mine. Now, of course, this bottom and the top, these sections here, along with this piece of wood, I found off the side of the street on a junk day, so that was a pretty cool find there. And of course, the magnetic bar from Harbor Freight. I think it was anywhere between like $6 to $8, depending on if you get to catch on a sale. And these right here, these are like stupid cheap. I don't know, a few bucks. And of course, I only used about maybe half or 2/3 of one of these here. So yeah, pretty much got this all under for about 20 bucks or so. Yeah, just right around under $20. Of course, not counting all the tools and time spent on it, obviously. But this is pretty dirty cheap too. So technically won't count as, I can't remember the exact price of it, but yep, pretty much $20, $25 depending on what you pimp it out with. And of course, if you can find 2x4s and stuff, that's even more money saved, because I think it was like $9 in the cost right there, just getting those. But overall, very cheap project, very satisfied with it. Pretty much, like I said, with the casters, those were free. I just had to pay for the nuts, and I had the washers pre-existing from other projects. Now, to show you all around the desk in detail, first we have the common tools. These are things that I usually lose because they're a little smaller. As you can see, I have like names like Klein screwdriver, cobalt ratcheting, Knipex needle nose, Knipex, these side cutters. I've lost these for like the past week. They're in some box somewhere and just fell in there for some reason. Of course, all sorts of brass wire brushes. Love those things for my 3D printers. And the long needle nose pliers, they fit pretty good in here.
got the biggest drill bit I had was a 13, just to drill some of these holes, and got them all individually sized here, so should keep everything nice and organized, and hopefully should cut down on loss of tools here. Then of course going around, got the dustpan, little broom, got plenty of clamps along the sides because you never have enough clamps. Of course, zip ties, obviously. Got the multimeter, vice grip, various hammers, always useful. And of course, I have a magnetic bar, like I mentioned before. Just have all the stuff on here. Got my Wera precision screwdrivers, my wire crimping set. That's really about it here. Of course, as you can see, as I move it around, it's pretty stable. Gonna clear it over that hump. I don't know if of course you don't want any drill bits in your drill chucks as you're moving it, but you might. But overall, you feel like top heavy things down. Let's give it a good test here. Oh, lost a nail, I think. Oops. Let's see if will it clear the door. Yes, easily. If I just give it a little. Oh. There we go, impact fell, so yeah, that's pretty easy there. Not too bad. Clear that little hump pretty decently, just the impact drill fell, so nice. I call that a win. Alright folks, if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button, consider subscribing, and have a great day. Oh, and one more thing, I am super excited for the other projects here. As you notice, there's a new 3D printer, gonna be about 4 more of those. And we got a few more things here as well. Of course, I got to build a couple more tables here, so might take y'all along for that ride. And have a great day.